This is probably one of the most common questions I get on the Camino. Rob, why do you keep going back? And it's not an easy one to answer, but I'll try. Coming right up. So if you've walked multiple Caminos, why do you go back? I'd love to hear. Do comment down below. But from my own perspective, if you've never walked a Camino, I jokingly say to people it should come with a health warning because it's very addictive. I think for a lot of people it's very addictive. Some probably don't go back. So there's another question. If you walked one and you haven't gone back to walk another one, why didn't you? I'd love to hear that too. So maybe it isn't the be-all and end-all for a lot of people. Why do I go back? So here's a little bit, this is going to be a little bit warm and fuzzy and waffly. I apologise, but it's not an easy question to answer. Why do I go back? Because the first one was so life-changing, and not everybody experiences that. I do understand that. I think why it was for me was I'd sort of come to a period in my life where I was very busy running a business, very stressed. I'd gone through a lot of personal issues. I probably came to the point where, you know, sometimes a bit of a midlife crisis, if you like, where I sort of got to the point of, what's all this about, you know? Am I going to be on this working treadmill and then one day, you know, I'll fall off and they'll bury me? You know, is there more to life? It was kind of that situation. And I think a lot of people are drawn to their initial Camino for similar reasons. It can be through personal loss, it could be, you know, grieving, all sorts of, you know, major life decisions. They want time out to think about it. You know, that's definitely why I went on my first one. So a valid question would be, well, so you did it, and did you get the answers, and why did you have to go back? Yes, I did get the answers. And there's a bit of a tip here if you haven't walked a Camino before. If you're walking with that sort of purpose in mind, that you're seeking answers, you're seeking guidance, that sort of thing, don't go with any expectations. I didn't. And I didn't have a particular question in mind. I just wanted some freedom to think. And in fact, it took me about a week or 10 days to even sort of think of the question that I should be asking myself. And it probably took me another 2 or 3 weeks to work out, you know, the answer to that question, and I did. I worked it out at the Cruz de Ferro. Very emotional moment. I've been to the Cruz de Ferro 4 times now, and just, yeah, I end up in tears. It's just that kind of place. So that first Camino was everything that I'd hoped for. So why did I have to go back? For me, it's a little bit like a drug. Because I lead quite a busy life, it's a place that I can go to where I can totally unplug and lead a very simple life. And you might be saying, but Rob, you could do that at home. Yeah, that's the challenge. How do you take that lifestyle, that learning from the Camino back home? And I think that's a thing that challenges a lot of us. And it's very difficult because when you're on Camino, you're living the most simple of lives. You know, you're carrying everything you need on your back. You're just getting up in the morning, you're packing up your bag, you're walking, you're having something to drink, something to eat, you're out in nature. You know, if you're lucky like me, you're able to totally unplug. So I'm not thinking about work. You know, I was going to say I'm not even thinking about home, but if I'm walking on my own, I generally have a quick catch-up call with Pat as I set out in the morning in the pre-dawn, and we have a chat for 10 minutes, and she kind of walks with me for 10 minutes on Facebook Messenger. Yeah, so I'm totally unplugged, and it's the one place that I've found where I can just totally relax. Now, other people can probably do it, you know, on a beach holiday, on a mountain retreat or something like that. I can't sit on a beach. I can't sit in a deck chair. I can't sit around a swimming pool. I need to be doing something, and the simple act of walking is that thing that I'm doing. And it becomes almost like this walking meditation. You may have heard of that before. And I've got this very simple framework of life, you know, where I'm getting up, I'm walking, I'm finding a bed at night, I'm looking around for somewhere to eat, I'm grateful for the bed that I find, the food that I find, and life is kind of just boiled down to being almost as simple as it can be. And that simplicity, for me, is the joy of the Camino, where I just feel totally free and unburdened, and I long for it, and I want to go back to it time and time again. And the challenge, as I've just said, is how do you take that feeling and bring it home with you? I don't know. I haven't worked it out yet. Have you? And until I do, I'm going to be going back to Spain time and time again for a fix. One of the things that can very often happen to people is they become so enamored, if you like, with that sort of Camino lifestyle. And it happened to me. You come back and say, let's buy an albergue. Pat and I very nearly did last year. I won't say which one, it's still for sale, I think. But we contacted the owners, we went through all the accounts, we were very seriously thinking of buying this albergue. And I joked with someone at work that, you know, if you were going to buy an albergue and you had your sort of, you know, if it had to tick all the boxes, you know, 10 things, like it had to be on a right on the Camino route, it had to be in a popular spot where people stay, it had to have a really good ranking, you know, great reputation. It ticked every single one of the boxes. It was almost like someone was saying, Rob, you should go and move here. But I think we had a bit of a reality check, and you know, it's a little bit like one of those holiday romances. That's my fear, that if, you know, for a month or two on Camino, it's brilliant. But if you lived there, it's a bit different. You know, I do know some people who have moved and lived on the Camino and they absolutely love it. Would it suit us? I'm not sure, really not sure. I think I like walking the Camino. It's a bit like, you know, someone who, if you come from the UK or Ireland or something, you know the pub culture there, the local village pub. It's the social hangout, you know, you love to go there. It's a bit like, if you love hanging out at the local pub, do you want to buy a pub? No, it's a totally different thing being on the other side of the bar. And I think it's a little bit like that with walking Caminos and owning albergues and things like that. So I've digressed there a little bit. So why do I keep going back? It is so hard to answer. Because it's where I feel at peace, it's where I feel freedom, it's where I feel joy, it's where I feel relaxed. I just love it. And I'll keep doing it for as long as I can. And I don't want that to sound sort of too selfish. So my wife, Pat, is coming with me on the next one. She's not quite the sort of Camino addict that I am, but she does love it, she gets it. And so, you know, we do it together sometimes. But I also really enjoy the solitude of just walking on my own. And I think that's why I've probably diverted a bit from the more sort of traditional routes. So the routes that I've walked, I've done the Frances 2 and a bit times. And then I've sort of discovered these more remote routes like the VDLP and the Invierno, and I just love those. I just love that. I was going to say the isolation, the solitude, the peace and quiet, the time to think. You know, I love nothing more than to walk over and open. If you've walked the Camino Frances, and you know the infamous Meseta, the Via de la Plata, the early stages of it are very like the Meseta. I just love it. I like nothing more than to walk for 7 or 8 hours, you know, across a Meseta landscape and not see a single person, and just wonder at the world around me and nature and think, and you know, just absolutely love that. It's I don't know any other feeling like it, and that I don't know where else I could get that sort of feeling, you know, sitting on a beach, sailing, whatever. Nothing quite like it, and that's why I go back. So a bit of a warm and fuzzy answer and a bit of a vague answer, but I think it's a valid question, and it's one I keep asking myself, why do I keep going back? Because I just love it. It's funny, reflecting on my last Camino, as I walked out of Sevilla, starting on the Via de la Plata, there was, I think, about 30 minutes walking through the city, and then you come across a bridge over the river, and there's a lovely path. You know, within an hour, I was sort of in the countryside and walking along this lovely path next to the river, and I just felt the weight of the world fall off my shoulders. And I think I even said to myself aloud, I'm home. I just love this, you know, and it's the whole package. You know, it's that gentle exercise, it's the freedom, it's the clear mind, it's being in nature, in a wonderful country with lovely people. Yeah, it's just hard to describe. Why do you keep going back? Or if you haven't walked a Camino yet, what's drawn you to the first one? I'd love to hear from you. I've waffled enough, so I'll leave it there, and see you soon. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.